obviously, the Phillies felt a lot of you guys tonight. Just what did that do for you guys? What did that mean for you in terms of adapting to be a bit about there?
Everybody out there deserves to be in the NBA, so that's how we treat it. And we still try and accomplish like what we're trying to do, regardless of who's out there and who's playing. And teams like that, you still have to treat with respect. You can lose to anybody, and you can beat anybody in the NBA. So that's kind of how we approach games like that.
And then Shai, obviously, they went on a run there in the fourth, cut it to four. What was key in that moment to just maintain the composure and make sure you guys didn't lost
Not getting spooked by it, not overreacting, just playing basketball, making the right play, trying to just stack possessions. If you do that, you'll be fine no matter what the game has in front of you.
For either first half, 12 turnovers, the most you had in the first half. You see, I guess you could say the two quarters was a lot of that. I would explain what happened in those two quarters, just in terms of turnovers.
Basketball, it's not nothing deeper than that. Trying to be aggressive, making the wrong play. You have moments like that throughout the season. Obviously, we're a team that doesn't turn over much, but we're not perfect. We're gonna make mistakes, and tonight it looked like that. Now, as long as we don't turn it into a habit, we should be fine. But yeah, just bad batch of basketball for a little bit.
You get Caruso back after 10 games. I know the metrics have mostly stayed the same because you got so many guys, but just what did you miss defensively without him?
I wouldn't say miss. We have, like you said, so many guys that can fill in and plug in spots. But he obviously has a skill defensively, and adding that layer to us only makes us better defensively. He is very good at the point of attack, in the shell, reading the next play. Like when he steps on the floor, he changes the game. And we have a lot of guys like that, and adding another guy like that only makes us better, and that's what it was tonight.
Shai, how did you get to a point where you as a Rainey were just so comfortable going left to the point that you go left and you want to more now, go right now helps?
I was very right-hand dominant from maybe until I was like 9, and then I worked on my left hand probably from 9 to like 12, and then my left hand just became more comfortable.
What are you doing from 9 to 12 to get so comfortable there?
Like ball handling with my left, layups with my left, floaters with my left. Like sometimes I go to the gym and like not touch the ball with my right hand.
That in like a game or a practice setting?
Not just practice. In the game, I need to score. Yeah. Yeah, nah. I would never.
Not today.
Got 2 hands for a reason.
For either one of you guys, what does Isaiah Joe mean to this team, and how have you seen him sort of progress in the couple of years since he joined you guys?
Yeah, Isaiah Joe is spectacular for our group. He came over a little bit like unexpected, and like from day one he's been a worker. He's like plugs away at it. He obviously didn't play much at first. When his time come, he took full advantage of it. It's obviously in the rotation heavy because of that, but he just works hard. He knows what he does every night. He does it at a high level, and it makes it easier for the rest of the group because we know what we're gonna get from him. We know how he plays, where his spots are, and he's a very, very good shooter, so that always helps out there.
Jalen, we talked this morning about the responsibility you have for long stretches of this game at such a young age, leading some other guys. Have you always had the level of poise that you've kind of demonstrated once again tonight in the second half? Or is that something that you've kind of accumulated tonight?
My parents were big on that growing up, just trying to stay like even kill a lot. I think just like it's probably a little bit of military background, and then something like I think you also like mature into. and when you're like constantly thrown into those spots, it like gives you a chance to grow and like be comfortable in them. And I think that's kind of the case.
There's kind of a level of game pressure that comes into play when they cut it to 4 and you have to go and execute even with some momentum down the other way. Do you relish some of those moments? And I guess what's going through you in that time period of the game, knowing that's sort of a crucial time within the game?
It's fun, and I feel like in those moments, like those are times where it's like really evident that you can get better. So it's kind of like you kind of want to like dive into the game even more, and it makes you focus and makes you more excited and willing to like make big plays and like even like kind of buckle down and do the little stuff. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's like more energy to the game.
Casey's career is still pretty young. And he obviously built a reputation last year. Shooter real poor, knocked down shots, defended well. He had his first sort of slump, I guess you would say, to start the year shooting wise. He's up to above 40%. He's won that 10 games completed. Just what have we seen from him as far as getting back from that slump and how he made the game?
He's just done a good job of being persistent. We play so many games, like you're not, for the most part, you're not going to shoot well every single game, all 82 games. It's peaks and valleys with the NBA, and that's really hard to understand for somebody as young as him, and he's done a really good job of that. He hasn't lost confidence. He hasn't stopped shooting, and he still tries to do everything else that's asked of him, and because of that, the ball like will find energy, and he's still doing what he does. He works hard, gets shots up, and when you do that like over a course of time, like we kind of have like a team thing. It's like you can't miss them all. So it's like once he kind of gets back into a rhythm, makes a couple, it kind of gets back to himself. But credit to him because he does everything else on the court without a drop off. You can't tell if he's shooting bad or not, and that's what makes him special. And now obviously he's getting back to his normal self where he's knocking down shots and still shooting it with confidence.
Shai has this ability to stop really, really quickly. When you're off the ball playing with him, spacing wherever he might be, because of his ability to kind of stop, change directions as quickly as he does, do you space any differently? Do you look any differently for passes from him than you work with maybe other players?
Yeah, and try and move out the way. But yeah, a lot of it is like, I wouldn't say I know what he's gonna do, but like just when you play with somebody like over the course of your career, you kind of figure out like tendencies, and like I'm looking at gaps on the court that I think he might attack, and I honestly just try and like move out the way, and also be ready to be like an outlet for like if he does need a pass because he draws so much attention. So a lot of it's like watching film on like where he's going and trying to figure out like where I can still be effective to like help him in case he needs kind of like an outlet. And other times, yeah, it's just as simple as like just slashing the quad, giving him space, or just kind of taking a cut so he can kind of do his thing.
Shai, do you work on stopping? Because you're a very fast stopper.
In the weight room, I work on like loading, planting, stopping, pushing off, like generating power through different movements. On the court, no, though. But in the weight room, yes, for sure.
No, there's a clip circulating. I don't know if the episode is out there, but you're talking about.
I think it's tomorrow. I'm Cap. Yeah.
You're talking about defensive ability, right? Potentially adding another all defense team. I just wonder. I imagine that's something you've thought about quite a bit. How would those things sort of like how would this team reap the benefits of those things?
You could put a lot of us on the defensive team. I don't even think it's like necessarily about like the team. I think the league is just getting to a point where like from my point, I was saying there's too many good defenders in the NBA that adds to like how it is with like the offense. Like if the offense has 3 teams, like we can surely find 3 teams for defense. Obviously, I know like the combatant for that is like our fans like really watching for defense, but a lot of those things too is like just as an NBA player and somebody that plays defense and like sees like teams like where Lou doesn't get on or should, or like certain players I think should be on there. I just think adding a 3rd team kind of helps out. I don't think it hurts anything either. So that's kind of like my stance on it. I feel like there's just a lot of talented defenders on the team or in the NBA that don't get recognition. I think there's a lot of talented defenders on our team that don't get it. So yeah, that's my stance on it.
Last one to Daniel.
Shit. A lot of guys, you guys think don't really mention Iverson as a guy that they molded their game after a watch. It's evident his impact on the game today. Was that a guy that you watched or tried to mold your game after? I love it.
Yes, Allen Iverson was my first favorite basketball player as a kid. Like I had braids as a kid because of him. I wore a sleeve. I had fake tattoos because of him. Yeah, he influenced the game a lot, obviously on and off the court. Special player, special talent, sure.
Thanks, guys.
Mark, Shai was just saying to me on the floor after that you guys have played to your standard for a good portion of the game, but not all of it. Which seemed like there's major opportunities for learning and growth coming out of this. Just maybe your perspective on that perspective and the way that your team managed to get the car back on the road, as you say, in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't a 48-minute team tonight, but I never take for granted what the effort it takes and the concentration to win an NBA game. I thought we started the game really well. I thought we started the second half with the right intent. And then that group in the fourth, when they cut it to 4, that kind of staved that off. That group wasn't great in the first half, and I thought they did a much better job in that part of the game. So there was some positives, and overall on the trip, I thought there were a lot of positives. We took a step forward. We're better now than we were when we left home, and that's the goal when you leave for a 8-day road trip.
Mark, what did you, in those 2 middle quarters, I guess more specifically, thinking on the turnovers?
I mean, we just weren't as sharp as we can be, and at the end of the day, it's a long season. It's an 82-game season. It's a 48-minute game. You're not going to live, in a thriving state all the time. And the important thing is recognizing when you're not there, getting yourself back there as fast as possible, course correcting. That's been a strength of the team. We're not perfect, but we do a good job of recognizing when we're not perfect and then, getting back above the bar.
It's hard to overreact to anything when you got lost 6 times all year. When Shai comes off the floor, you just mentioned that lineup. I guess, what have you seen when he comes off the floor, and then what does it take for that lineup to maybe not dig itself in a hole that it has to kind of come back from?
Well, we've outplayed our opponents in those lineups, mainly because of the defense. But I thought I was complimenting them for their job in the fourth. I thought they opened the game back up, and they brought a defensive disposition in the fourth quarter that kind of separated us in that game. It wasn't great in the first half, but I mean, we're more focused on the standard that we play to collectively. It's not when Shai's on or Shai's off or specific to a lineup. And the team's done a great job all season of playing, up to that. And like I said, when we're not at that bar, getting to it, in game, course correcting it in game.
More generally than just tonight, but Shai is really good going to his left. Or right player. He really likes going to his left. Seems to do it more than going to his right. What makes him so, I guess, confident going left as a right-handed player?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. He could answer that a lot more accurately. He can go both ways. He's got solutions going both ways. He does gather the ball in his left hand quite a bit. He's got a lot of stuff off of that, but he can do it going right too. Teams try to directionally send him right from time to time, and he handles it well. He's got solutions to about everything at this point, but he's just really skilled. You're not that good. He's the top of the scouting report every night, and yet he's able to get places on the floor and still find his stuff at a very efficient level. And so, you have to have a lot in the toolbox in order to do that.
Is it about getting to that step back for him when he goes left, or?
He drives it left quite a bit. He had that going in the start of the third. But yeah, I mean, he can do that going left or right. I mean, he's hit game winners going left and right that way. So I really, like I said, he works on the whole package. In terms of his comfort going there, you'd have to ask him. But, I just see him as a player that just doesn't have a lot of holes. You try to do X, and he's got a solution. He's just developed. That's what happens when you're in as many situations as he's been, and you just develop the solutions to the different things that get thrown at you. And he's obviously done that really well.
Another 3-steal game for JDub. I mean, those are visible, tangible aspects of his defense, but what are some of the invisible parts that you talk about that maybe we should be watching for when we watch JDub defensively?
I mean, a lot of those on-ball ones, it starts with catching the initial drive, chesting the initial drive, and then it makes the ball handler stationary, and now they have to kind of wiggle away from him, without any sort of forward momentum. So I think there's the invisible thing is his ability to kind of catch those plays and catch the point of attack, and now you've got kind of a static player that's trying to use their handle to shake you free, and he's got great length and tenacity and all those things.
Is that catching? Is that footwork, playing with his chest? Like what goes into that?
Yeah, both. Anticipation. Kenrich Williams had a good one tonight. It's a huge fundamental in the NBA, especially with how dynamic the offensive players are. Every player on the court, can kind of shoot, pass, and drive these days. So you got to be able to really catch those guys. Kaysen is obviously great at it. Dort, we've got some guys that can counter that skill with the individual D.
Speaking of Kaysen, you had 11 and that for a few assists. What you see from him then, and I guess what have you seen from him as far as parts of the game where probably haven't been able to.
Yeah, he's got some traction right now. He's strung together a really good stretch of offense. He's been great defensively all season, but strung a nice stretch of offense. The shooting's come around, and he's finishing some tough plays, in a fluid manner. Finding those cuts, that's still part of his game. Last couple games, he's gotten like 1 or 2 layups a game. He got a couple tonight. Just kind of sneak along the baseline. So he's done a great job, and he was huge in that stretch, to start the fourth and into the fourth quarter. He was a huge part of closing that game down.
How would you assess Alex's first game back?
He was great. It was good to have him out there. Obviously, a little out of rhythm, and out of rhythm with the team. We've kind of on this road trip, especially, we've kind of had a bare bones roster and have played the same group of guys. And now you're adding something to that, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It forces the team to adapt, but it does take some adaptation. So, but it was good to have him back. He's just such a great presence on the court and off. And like I said, he worked hard to get himself back to this point. So happy that he's back out there playing and competing. It's what he wants to do.
Anybody else?
All right, thanks.